My name is Henry. I'm 95 years old. 17 years ago, I uncovered something that completely changed the way I view life. The woman who had been living next door to me, the woman who used to bring over soup when I was sick, the woman who waved to me every morning from her garden, turned out to be my daughter, my own daughter. And for 17 years, neither one of us knew it. I live in a quiet town outside Erie, Pennsylvania. I've lived here most of my life. At 95 years old, you start noticing something strange about time. It doesn't move the way you think it will when you're young. When you're young, you believe life happens in big dramatic moments. But when you're old, you realize life is mostly made of quiet days. Quiet days that slowly turn into years. And sometimes the most important truth of your life is sitting right in front of you during those quiet days. And you never see it. Before I go any further, I want to say something small. This channel gave me the chance to tell this story. At my age, most people assume your stories don't matter anymore. People talk around you instead of listening to you. But someone here believed an old man still had something worth saying. So if you're watching this, maybe consider liking the video or subscribing. It helps them keep doing this. And it means people like me still get a chance to be heard. Anyway, I was born in 1929, right at the tail end of the Great Depression. My father worked in a steel mill. My mother took care of 5 kids in a tiny house that always smelled like bread and laundry soap. We didn't have much money growing up, but we had something people forget about these days. We had stability. Everyone worked. Everyone helped. And you didn't quit on your family. I married my wife Helen in 1950. She was 21. I was 24. We met at a church picnic. She beat me at horseshoes in front of half the town and laughed so hard she had tears running down her face. I remember looking at her and thinking, well, there goes the rest of my life. We had one child, a little girl named Margaret, born in 1953. The first time I held her, she wrapped her tiny hand around my finger and squeezed. And I remember thinking that nothing in the world had ever felt that important before. For 5 years, life was exactly what I imagined it would be. Helen singing while she cooked dinner. Margaret running around the house dragging a stuffed rabbit everywhere she went. Small, ordinary things. But those small things were everything. Then Helen got sick. Tuberculosis. Back then it was a terrifying diagnosis. She got weaker quickly. Within a year she was gone. Just like that, I was 29 years old and alone with a 5-year-old little girl who didn't understand why her mother wasn't coming home. I tried my best. But working full-time and raising a child alone in those days, it was almost impossible. My sister helped for a while. Eventually, Helen's parents offered to take Margaret in temporarily, just until I got back on my feet. That was the plan. Temporary. But life has a habit of changing plans when you're not paying attention. Helen's parents moved across the state. At first there were letters, then visits. But the visits got farther apart. Work got busier. Money got tighter. Years started slipping past. Eventually the letters stopped coming. By the time I finally tracked down where they had moved, they were gone again. Different town, different address. And my little girl had grown up somewhere in the world without me. I searched for years. Phone books, letters, old contacts. But back then finding someone wasn't as easy as it is today. Eventually life just kept going. I remarried briefly in the 1960s. That didn't last. No more children. Just work. 42 years at the same machine shop. Early mornings. Grease on my hands. Paychecks that were never quite enough, but always just enough to keep the lights on. Then retirement. A small house on Maple Street. Quiet neighborhood. The kind where everyone waves but nobody asks too many questions. By the time I turned 78, I had accepted something painful. That somewhere out there I had a daughter. And I would probably never see her again. Then one day in 2007, a moving truck pulled up next door. A woman stepped out. Short gray hair, friendly smile. She introduced herself as Margaret Lawson. I helped carry a few boxes into her house. We talked about the neighborhood, nothing unusual. But something about her felt strangely familiar. Not in a way I could explain, just familiar. Over the next few years, we became neighbors the way neighbors sometimes do. She'd bring over cookies during the holidays. I'd shovel her driveway in the winter. Sometimes we'd sit on the porch and talk about old music or gardening. Simple conversations. But there were little things, little coincidences. We shared the same birthday, July 14th. We both had the same habit of tapping our fingers when we were thinking. Once she laughed in a certain way, and something inside me stopped for a moment, because it sounded exactly like Helen. But I never said anything, because the idea that she might be my daughter, well, it sounded impossible. Then one afternoon she mentioned growing up with her grandparents, and something in my chest went very quiet. I asked what their names were. When she told me, my heart started pounding. Those were Helen's parents, the same people who had taken my little girl all those years ago. I remember sitting there staring at her, trying to make sense of what I was hearing. Finally, I asked her one question. What was your mother's name? She said Helen. And in that moment I knew. 17 years we'd lived next door to each other. 17 years we'd shared conversations, coffee, small moments of everyday life. And neither one of us realized we were family. We did a DNA test just to be certain. A few weeks later, the results came back. 99.9% match. She was my daughter, my little Margaret, 71 years old by then. The first time I hugged her after that test came back, she cried, and so did I. You know what the strangest part of all this is? For most of my life, I believed I had lost my daughter forever. But she had been living 30 feet away from me for 17 years. Sometimes life hides the most important answers in the simplest places. Sometimes it takes 95 years to see something that was right in front of you the entire time. And maybe that's why I wanted to tell this story. Because families lose each other in so many ways. Distance, time, misunderstandings. But sometimes, if you're lucky, life gives you one more chance. And when it does, you don't waste it. Because at 95 years old, you finally understand something simple. Time never comes back. But love sometimes finds its way home anyway.